This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I am once again live. I do apologize. I guess I set my timer wrong because I'm thinking to myself, like, why are so many people live? Why are they waiting? Because the time was set wrong. It was supposed to have been at 12, not 10, okay? One of my devices in a different time zone, so I need to change that. So definitely. I'm seeing from Mama Lou, Aaron, Edson. Good morning, Kurt. Counterpunch to you. Less than a month out for Crawford versus Canelo. That is the next biggest fight. In fact, that's probably the biggest fight that we have on the horizon. Yeah, Crawford. Yeah, Crawford's looking like he's jacked up. I'm just wondering, can he carry that weight around? Kurt must be sleeping. No, actually, I was doing some other things. I was working on some videos, and I was catching my media sermon live, so I was doing that, and that's why I knew I didn't supposed to be at 10 o'clock. So my apologies. So that's why I had to change the time zone for you guys. Bill Keaveney in the building. Good evening, everyone. Hit that like button as you come in. Absolutely. Hit the like button as you guys come in. And we need to reflect. Dillian the Body Snatcher, Whyte. Moses Atoma. 37, 20, 17 years difference. You know, Dillian, I looked at that fight again. I've watched it 12 times because, I mean, it wasn't really nothing to see but an arsenal of punches coming from Moses Atoma, a few jabs from Dillian Whyte. And Moses Atoma, I think he's definitely peaked. Okay. Now, as a fighter, I think he's peaked. I think that's why he's eager to show everyone. You know, he looked a bit nerved. If you guys can remember, he looked a bit nervous coming into the ring because he knew, well, this isn't a Dempsey McKean. This isn't a just a regular body on your record. This is somebody that is known. Everybody that's beat Dillian Whyte is somebody. You know what I mean? Golden Olympians, basically. Tyson Fury, Alexander Povetkin, Anthony Joshua. Those are the three losses that Dillian has lost inside the ring. Now the fourth one, Moses Atoma. So he joins the circle of guys that are someone. And I think that's what he thought of. Those explosive punches, how can you really, though, get prepared for that? You know? Moses Atoma can't beat Usyk. No one can. Usyk has fought the best his entire career at cruiserweight and heavyweight. Well, I'll say this it's funny about what people, how they set bars for other people. Alexander Usyk is a all-time great fighter. Fighting Moses Atoma, I think it's a fight that shouldn't happen. You know what I mean? Because the same way, like fights like Rocky Marciano versus Joe Louis shouldn't have happened. Because Usyk, regardless of what we seen him do with Danny Dubois, logic tells you that wouldn't happen with Moses Atoma. Moses Atoma is not a Danny Dubois. And I know that's what we're basing that on. We're basing that on his last performance, but his last performance against who? Danny Dubois. Danny Dubois showed us that, and he showed me, I don't know about you guys, but he showed me that he will always fight you. He will go to war with you if he can hit you. If he can't hit you, he's going to mentally break down and shut down. That's what I learned about Danny Dubois. And he couldn't hit Usyk that night. And because of that, I think people have a false sense of who they think Usyk is. To me, Usyk was a guy that knew his opponent well because he's already went 9 rounds with that opponent, right? He knows what Daniel can do. He knows that how powerful Daniel is. He's been in there with Daniel. So this is nothing new to Usyk. So I think people, what we do, we jump on this bandwagon of this. We see this performance, and because of this performance, we shoot through the roof with potential and aspiration that maybe we shouldn't. It looks good. It was a great performance. It was an eye-opening, exciting performance by Alexander Usyk, but it was against the same guy. Moses Atoma the same. You know, I just dropped a video with Tyson Fury moments ago, and Tyson is saying, well, he'll beat everybody that's in their 30s. That may be the case, but we're basing that off of what? Off of a fighter that hasn't fought for a while. Because remember, when was Dillian Whyte's last fight? When did Dillian Whyte fight last? Last year? I think he fought Teta in what, November or December? Good night last night. Couldn't get no sleep. Yeah, it took me a while to wind down. I mean, it was crazy because I wasn't feeling too well at all. You know, I went to the restroom a couple times, man, and I was sick. You know, I regurgitated a couple times, like yesterday, and it was like, oh man, I had some water. I didn't eat anything. I ate earlier. I ate some wings before I started. I took a shower, and then it hit me right when I came to live stream. So, you know, TMI, but just telling you what was going on. Very well, thanks. Delighted to be in the end of Slack, Whyte. And the question is about the fight. You know, Dillian, he argued after that. He walked out of the ring. He didn't give a reply. He shared no comment because he was mad because they stopped the fight. Now, the question is, was it a good stoppage? Do you guys believe that Dillian Whyte was a subject of an early stoppage in Saudi Arabia against Moses Atoma? Because, I mean, it didn't really last for shit. And he got up. He didn't have his legs up under him. And, the ref stopped it. I mean, he did his job. Because what we should learn right now, better safe than sorry is always a better alternative than what you could have done earlier. You see what I mean? Because this is boxing. This is not baseball, football, none of that. This is boxing. You're getting targeted to the head and the body. Everything above the waistline is game. You're a target. Chest, kidneys, liver, temple, nose, neck, shoulders, hell, back. Some people do rabbit punches, back of the head. It's a dangerous sport, man. You're hitting somebody after training for weeks. Now, speaking of training for a minute, I know that it has to be disappointing to get in that type of shape for Dillian Whyte, only to get in there and get blasted out in one round. That's infuriating. It has to be. I mean, it has to be like, dude, what the, I've been working out. I've been training. We've been going over this again and again. We've been working on the game plan. We've been putting things together. We've been strategizing. We've been, putting in the work, and then pop, pop, pop. You're down. You're out. You're out for the count. That's got to be real discouraging, Whyte was not of old, to be honest. Moses caught Whyte around the back of the head a few times. Okay, see, that's another thing. And I do have a problem with this, I will admit. When you get caught, and this is the problem in boxing, and I've noticed this, and a lot of people haven't pointed this out. One thing that gets me about referees, it's almost like if you hurt a fighter, yes, the momentum is in the hands of the fighter that hurt the other fighter, right? I get that. But it should never exclude you from throwing legal shots. Because to me, if you ever noticed someone got hit and then after they got hurt with the initial shot was a shot that legitimately, legally hurt that fighter. It was a legal shot and it disrupted that fighter's equilibrium. It hurt that fighter. You can tell with the break or the legs or how that fighter took that shot and he didn't take it too well. And then the momentum shifts, right? What bothers me is when that fighter gets hurt, what happens after that when that fighter does throw a legal shot or two? You know what I mean? It's always, it's like, to me, these fighters, they'll land a shot and then they'll get a couple fouls in, and then the fouls are like, oh, well, wait a minute. What do you do at that point? Well, you have to call break in the action, and a lot of refs don't do that. And I don't know if it's inexperience. I don't know if it's corruption. I don't know if it's laziness, because a lot of times, man, referees, if you see them, especially if they're smaller referees, they're pushing two guys that are trying to come together and throw down apart all night long to break, to separate, to continue again. That takes energy. And a lot of people are probably lazy. A lot of these referees don't like that idea. So when they do see something or an opportunity to either stop this fight or this fight to come to a conclusion based on a KO or a TKO, I think they overlook those things. I think they overlook the whole filing and, they kind of throw that to the wayside. Like, okay, this guy got caught with a right hand. He is hurt. But wait a minute, he just received 2 rabbit punches. You know what I mean? What the hell is that about? Wait, you can't do that. You have to say something to that guy. I'm going to give you perfect examples. Chris Eubank Jr., Liam Smith won. Liam Smith caught Chris Eubank Jr. and hurt him. But he also elbowed him as well, right? That's one. Because something should have been done of that. Well, what do you do about the person that, yeah, he was on a roll. Yeah, he was on his way of getting that fighter out of there. But he cheated because he threw an illegal shot. What do you do with that situation? What do you do in that case? You stop the fight and you check the fighter that has just been fouled. You see what I mean? But a lot of refs, if you notice, don't do that. Give you another example. Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz won. He caught Luis Ortiz coming off the ropes because he kind of leaned off the ropes and propelled forward and jawed Luis Ortiz. Well, Luis Ortiz was hurt from that shot. But Wilder, if you look back at that fight, Wilder whacked this man behind the head 3 or 4 times and then slammed him into the corner. And what the ref didn't count it as a knockdown. What he did, he made Luis Ortiz get up. But Luis Ortiz, not only was he hurt from the right hand, obviously, but he was also damaged from the behind the head rabbit punches. You don't know how much of that affected that fighter. So saying all that to say this about that, that's something I think that needs to be addressed when you're dealing with referees, because if a referee sees like, hey, there's an illegal shot, what are you going to do about that? You know what I mean? Just because we've seen a shift in momentum of the fight, you can't let the excitement overrule your ability to referee the fight properly. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Take it easy on my man, Bomb Squad. I'm just being honest. Dillian could have been hospitalized, good referee. He could have been. He probably would have been knocked out cold, especially if he would have landed that uppercut. I only seen after that misery for Dillian Whyte. Whyte fought 8 months ago. Moses fought 8 months ago and fought 3 times in 40 seconds after that before facing Dillian. Okay. Maybe Buddy should have watched the tape. Yeah, I mean, that's what also happens when you let that, I know it was mind games, but it was also a bit arrogant too, because he was trying to imply that Moses is not special enough to be watching on tape. That's what I was getting from it, but I think it was all about strategy. He didn't want the other team to know how much they were actually focusing on him. Well, hell, he could have been just telling the truth. He could have been saying that. He could have not watched the tapes of Moses. It's like, well, there's nothing special about him. Light-skinned dude with a fro that has fast hands. What else is there to know? David Johnson, 4567. Good day, Kurt. Good day. Um, but no, Dillian Whyte. But here's the thing, though. Yeah, he was disembobulated. Yeah, he was. But it just, I am still. I want to know how hard Moses is punched. How hard can Moses punch? Because Dillian Whyte is not that guy that's been known for his chin lately. He got buckled by Jermaine Franklin, I think, in the seventh or eighth round of their bout. And it made you think, like, well, wait, Franklin's not a power puncher. I mean, it's hard enough to keep you honest, I guess. I mean, he went 24 rounds with AJ and Dillian, right? 2 fights. And it's like, okay, well, tough guy, can take some shots. That could be a new opponent for Moses Atoma, if they would want to keep him busy, because they need somebody durable. But I want him in there with somebody like Miller or Franklin, someone that can take a shot. Joe Joyce would be a good recommendation, but we all know that his durability is shot. It's been compromised. How much did Dillian get for the fight? I have no idea, because Dean Whyte was on. He was on the scene, and he was here on the channel, and he said he got more than $2 million. So if he got more than $2 million, he got more than what they offered Derek Chisora. So it is good. Miller a good fight next. Yeah, Miller's calling him out. You guys haven't seen that. Jarrell Miller's believes that Dillian Whyte took a dive. Now, the crazy thing is, it's like, that's crazy. Taking a dive for Moses Atoma. Dillian got 1.7. I heard. Okay. Dillian was paid 250% more than Moses. Okay. Atoma needs to fight a young guy like Big Baby Anderson. I would like to see him in there with these young guns, because there's one thing. I mean, they did the same thing with Canelo. You know why Canelo's Alvarez's resume is the way it is because they picked these older guys to throw in there with him. By the time Sugar Shane Mosley fought Canelo, he was done as a fighter. I mean, he could still fight, but he was nowhere near his prime. He was nowhere near the opposition that he used to be to actually win these fights. This is post-Cotto, and he gave Cotto all he could handle. And I do believe the Cotto fight, well, no. I take that back. Because Sugar Shane was a phenomenal fighter. But when Canelo fought him, no, not so much. I think this was in like 2012, right? I think the best we've seen of Shane, or the last best performance we've seen of Shane, was against Margarito. But that was another guy, an older head that they threw in there with Canelo. And you keep in mind, Shane Mosley is older than Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd and all of those guys. He's a couple years older than them. So if Oscar De La Hoya is 51 years old, or maybe he's 52 now, depends on when his birthday is, Shane has to be about 54. That being said, when in 2012, he was way past his prime. But they threw him in there with Canelo, and I think they're doing that with Moses Atoma. I think they're picking these guys because pretty soon, they may decide. I don't know who Joshua will stay with. I think he's left Ben Davidson. But if he has left Ben Davidson, I think it would be an easier match to make. So if they want to make Moses a star, you got to beat the stars. You got to beat the guy to be the guy. So I think that's what they're doing with Moses. That's why Dillian Whyte is a guy. They needed a name. They needed, okay, now you got Dempsey McKean, now you got Dillian Whyte. So you have guys like that where I do think that they're good names, but look at the performance. You're not going to get what you think you're going to get. You're going to get a name and really nothing more, especially if those fighters have diminished, especially if those fighters are nowhere near where they used to be, and it's sad. And I do agree with Tyson. This is a young man's sport. It is a young man's sport, no doubt about it. Moses should replace Anderson versus Miller. He gets paid more than he made for fighting Dillian Whyte. Ben Davidson is dangerous, underrated trainer. No, I don't even think that. I don't believe that at all. I don't believe Ben Davidson is an underrated trainer. I think Ben Davidson is an offensive-minded trainer. I don't think he's bad, but I don't just think he's an exceptional trainer either. I just think Ben Davidson has a great talent. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like, hey, Bomac is a great trainer because he trains Terrence Crawford. Well, how much of that is Crawford versus how much of that is Bomac? Again, we've seen Bomac's fighters. We've seen Bomac's fighters. We've seen him lose. We've seen him, he doesn't, like, these guys think that these fighters are not, I don't think these fighters are appreciated for their talent. I think they think, oh man, well, the trainer, it's all about the trainer. No, some of it's about the trainer. Most of it is about the fighter. And I think it's the ability of how good and well they gel together, honestly. But Ben and Moses, I think Moses will do well wherever the hell he's at. I don't think it's up to Ben necessarily. Not saying Ben didn't give him anything to work with or to learn or to focus on or to aid him. But what I'm saying is I think a lot of that is Moses Atoma's raw talent. Again, he ain't been with Ben Davidson since he was 9 years old, has he? No. A lot of things Moses Atoma has learned. He's learned from fighting at a very young age. That's why he's so experienced. That's why the feints are always on point. That's why he throws you off. That's exactly what he started doing with Dillian Whyte. That's exactly how he got Dempsey McKean out of there super quick. Because he knew, like, look, let me check this guy's reflexes. And if they respond to my reflexes the way I want them to, I'm going to take them out because I'm going over the top or I'm going down low. If you notice, Moses was going to the body, which I think that impressed me more because it's not all about head hunting. It's about being evenly proportioned when you're going in there and whooping somebody's ass. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be that guy that's one-dimensional. Oh, he's coming with right hooks and left hooks. No. Shoot down there to the body with a straight left. Fold that guy over. Come up with an uppercut. Then follow back to the body with a right hook. Then straight back to the body. Then a left uppercut. Those are the type of things that I saw Moses Atoma do, and he did them like that. He did them like it was clockwork. So when you say, oh, well, Ben Davidson, he's an underrated trainer. Well, Ben works on what he knows that this fighter is good at. But Moses Atoma is already a good prodigy. He's already a good talent. You see what I'm saying? So you can't really just blame it on Ben. Put it this way. How could he help AJ? He could only help and work with what AJ was doing and what AJ had. Now, he will boost your overall morale when it comes to making you feel good. He's a feel-good trainer. He focuses on your offense. You know what I mean? And it makes you feel good about your attacks. That gives you self-confidence. That's Ben Davidson. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't do enough challenges for me. Okay, you want me to prove it to you? Let's do this. The next time you see Ben Davidson handle the mitts for any fighter, watch what he does and watch how he does it. He's going to cater their ego. He's not going to give them anything or challenge them in a way to check. Because you always have to check someone's defense. It's one thing. It's easy to throw punches. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can do that shit all day. You can do that all day long. Work the pads and it becomes, systematic. Okay. It becomes routine. And then how many times have you seen him check to see if this guy is his defense or is he just throwing punches? You don't see that a lot. And that tells you a lot about a fighter or a trainer like that with a fighter. That means he's not really concerned about the defense part. You have to also be concerned with what's coming back. It's one thing to throw an Amir Khan, right? An Amir Khan shot, and you throw this shot, And you throw these shots, and these shots are like, cool, all right, that those are fast combinations. Ooh, that's fast. Bah, 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 bah. Ooh, that's right. Ta 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 ta. You know what I mean? What happens when you want to counter? What happens when you want to check to see if that guy's going to actually defend himself after throwing those damn shots? That's what you haven't seen from Ben. And you don't believe me? Watch his next thing. And I'm pretty sure I want you to inbox me and send me evidence of when Ben, pop, pop, boom, keep your head up. Keep your hands up. Make sure you're sharp. Make sure your defense is just as well as your offense. That's the difference between an offensive fighter or a trainer and a defensive or a balanced one. Derrick James, and here's the thing. I didn't like Derrick James for a long time. But Derrick James made me respect him based on the way he made his fighters responsible for defense. Okay? But it did not mean that he was a bad trainer just because his fighter, Errol Spence, got his ass whooped and ain't fought since by Terrence Crawford. It was just Terrence Crawford was a better fighter than Errol Spence. Period. Okay? So you can't blame that on Bomac, or you can't blame that against Derrick James. However, it's how you train a fighter. How many times have you seen Derrick James slap the shit out of Errol Spence with those mitts because he didn't put his hands up after throwing combinations? Plenty. Ryan Garcia, plenty. Because Ryan has that problem too. Ryan just thinks and lives and stands on a hill with his left hook, right? He's just a hooker. He's just a hooker because, I mean, that's his go-to punch. And how many times did Derrick James, you seen Derrick James, bow, keep your guard up, keep your hands up. CP or casual, you guys in the chat, right? Pigeon. Okay, Derrick didn't protect Ryan versus Raleigh. Okay, but then, again, you cannot blame the trainer for something that the fighter's done. And then think about it. You guys are talking about Ryan Garcia, right? Didn't he get popped for Osterine? Wouldn't he, or was he not the same dude? He was a totally different dude on that shit and off that shit. We all know that Whyte was watched 10 years ago. I don't know about 10 years ago. Whyte? 10 years ago? Dude, please. In fact, 10 years ago was in 2015. Who did he fight in 2015? Anthony Joshua receiving his first loss. So how the hell was he washed? He just wasn't better than AJ on the day. Whyte has been shot to pieces for years. Now his punch resistance is gone too. CP talking garbage here. Sadly, I like the guy, but this casual. Okay. After Fury, Dillian was gone. He just wasn't better than Tyson Fury neither. Moses has to fight Jake. All Fury fanboys said Whyte will KO Atoma. Quan Big Guns, what's up, brother? Counterpunch to you. Hrgovic next to Moses. You know what? I like the idea of that fight. Moses Atoma versus Philip Hrgovic, because one thing Philip showed us, you know how many punches Philip Hrgovic ate in that round 8 against Adelaide? Adelaide, bro. Adelaide showed that he's not world level, but I mean, he showed that he can thump. But Philippe showed us that he can take a shot, bro. So this is two people that he has got, well, 3 actually, because I mean, he got hit by Zane, he got hit by Danny Dubois, and now Adelaide. And I made a video about Adelaide. I'm like, yo, Adelaide can crack. Hey, Kurt, yesterday was crazy, bro. Absolutely. Moses versus Bang next period. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. That would be a good fight, though, because if I just need to see the chin, evidence of him having a chin. Who do you think will win, Moses versus Terramona? Well, that's a fight that I think that needs to happen, and I haven't heard from Terramona, and that's a Matchroom guy, right? He signed with Eddie, and I haven't heard from him, since he, bagged another body. Yeah, he was in New York the last time he fought. Miller and Bakali are a real test for Atoma. I believe you, and I think both of those guys are in the same boat. Honestly, I think they're big dudes, durable dudes. I do question Mark McCauley's desire. You know what I mean? Because that man got a check from Turkey, and he pulled a Andy Ruiz. Moses is the closest thing to Mike Tyson in terms of quickness, youth, and skills. It's to be beat now and being southpaw. I really don't rate Parker. Okay. Why don't you really rate Parker? After receiving 3 hits to the back of the head in the first round, Whyte quickly calculated after 10 rounds he wouldn't end up in a wheelchair, drooling from the corner of his mouth, and just damage controlled, soon KO. Hrgovic arguably robbed Bang. I'd rather Bang. I don't know, man. I just think, Zhang might just be a prodigy of having that as a deficiency. Zhang is a big dude, and I think he only has a limit on gas based on his size. Think about it. Someone smaller, someone 5'5", 5'6", Manny Pacquiao, Tank Davis. What are they known for? Their speed, their stamina. They can, they can move faster. They're quicker because they're smaller. Smaller people can do more. They have more ability versus someone big. It takes more energy for them to do something that a small person can do easy just based on their size. I think Zhang is one of those guys. I think Zhang is a guy that he's 6'6", 300 pounds. Estimated 300 pounds. That's what you're looking at. You're looking at a unit. You're looking at a big man, right? So I think he's going to have a limitation of energy. I don't care what he does, And plus he's getting older, and that shit doesn't help for testosterone and stuff like that, Boxing is levels. Parker beats Moses at this time. Moses needs to put the work in to get Parker. Hooney versus Moses, who wins? Moses beats Hooney easy because we don't know about Moses Atoma's chin, but we do know that Hooney has a lack of one. He doesn't have a great chin. So the minute he gets cracked, I think I think that's it. But keep in mind, he did get hit by a guy that's known to crack. Fabio Wardley is, he has that equalizer. He's the Tan Wilder. The way Moses steps in and delivers accurate punches and steps back out of reach is why he's so dangerous. But Dillian Whyte hasn't been a top fighter for a while. Again, they needed a body, and Dillian Whyte was that somebody. That's what that was, man. And Dillian, I feel bad because I wanted Dillian to make a count of him. I didn't want him to go out like that. I feel like Derek Chisora. I feel like Derek. I'm kind of sad because it's like this era of fighters, we're seeing them diminish. AJ, now Whyte, we're seeing these guys that were once badasses, that were once, kicking ass wherever they go, giving us fights, giving us these big shows, and now you're just seeing them diminish, and it's sad. It's a sad thing to see, honestly. Zhang can be a nightclub bouncer. He's still better than Whyte. And if he is easy, Let's see it. Why not? Lord Zed 123. Why not? I mean, I don't disagree with you because I do think Zhang is better than Dillian. You know, better background and everything. His background, his pedigree. Zhang is better than Dillian Whyte, of course. It's just Dillian Whyte's a British fighter. And Dillian Whyte, was in a pretty decent position. I mean, he was still screwed over by the WBC, but that had nothing to do with the UK. The UK is where, he made his name and he fought everyone that people didn't want to fight. When you had guys like Tyson Fury running away from guys like Oscar Rivas, he came to fight Rivas, even though that adverse finding was suspect, but he still fought him nonetheless. So, he had his time, to shine. Parker would get KO'd by Moses. Maybe. And I mean, and if Moses blasts out Parker, I think that'll speak volumes. And I think he would make a way bigger statement doing that to Parker than Dillian Whyte. No rush with Moses, Hergovic, Bacoli, Miller. Good night. Good next fights. Yeah, I don't think we should rush him. I think, he's just doing things too quick. And because he's doing things too quick, what people are doing is we want to see more of him. We want to see him challenged. It's almost like, okay, damn, we didn't get what we thought we were going to get. We didn't get what we hoped to see. What we hope to see is Dillian give this young kid a go and really challenge this kid to see what he's about. See what he's made of. We didn't get that. We're getting the same shit. We're getting the same song from Moses Atoma. That's what it is. Why do you think Turki Al-Sheikh is wanting Moses versus Usyk now? Why do you think that? Because Usyk always does the same thing. He wins. If it's by KO, TKO, decision, he wins. He gets the job done. Right? Moses has good defense, so that's why we don't know about his chin. Well, there's a reason why defense is there, to protect your chin. There is a reason for defense. Now, it's not always the case, but in some cases, people have great defense because they lack certain other things. I'm going to give you a perfect example. Tevin Farmer. Tevin Farmer is a defensive genius. Yes, he's missed a step. Yes, he got blown out by Kid Austin not too long ago, but using him as an example, why do you think that he focused a lot on his defense? Because his chin wasn't as sturdy as others. So you have people with that type of ability and defensive prowess, but then they get hit, pow! They get dropped. So go figure. They need the defense versus someone that gets hit a lot and can take a lot. Well, hell, they know they can take a lot because they get hit a lot. Right? That's pretty much it, The Joey DeWacos and the Joe Joyces and, the Philip Hergovics and, these guys. But I mean, all of them had to fall eventually. Somebody got in this shit and made them think twice about using their chin, as a punching bag, like it's a weapon. 38 going on 29. Lord Zed 123. You got to be talking about Usyk. Usyk will be 39 when he fights next. If he doesn't fight this year, yeah. If he doesn't fight this year any more this year, he will be 39 years old because we're already into August. So we're coming into the last part of this year. That would have dropped a horse, the punch Fabio landed. Well, it dropped Hooney. It definitely dropped Hooney. So, Martin Butler, exactly that. If they rush Moses, they could hurt his career. Now, I mean, sometimes people are too good for their own good. Let's hit that like button. We got 100 people in here. We only have 22 likes. You just open the popcorn and it's just over. Yeah, man, don't go to the bathroom. Don't blink. You're going to come back in there. You're going to see the ref jumping in the middle of him, waving around like a cheerleader. That's what you're going to see. Usyk straight until 41. He's built different. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't even know about, he conditions different. He lives different. One thing about discipline, man, it's something that you must practice. Bernard Hopkins showed us that. Why do you think Bernard Hopkins was able to beat Roy Jones Jr. in their second fight? I'm going to tell you why. Bernard Hopkins' lifestyle was different than Roy Jones. Sure, you can say Roy Jones was washed up by the time he fought him a second time, but obviously it shows that Bernard Hopkins was in better shape, older than Roy, because he's older than Roy, right? But he was better conditioned than Roy was at the time that they fought. Longevity, and that was due to discipline, lifestyle. The way he lived his life. He didn't live his life bad and partied and drank and this and that and all that. He didn't do any of that shit. His body was definitely a temple, and that's how he did it. Usyk is in that circle of people, I believe. He's not going to sit around and, you're not going to see him at nightclubs getting pissy drunk and walking out of clubs. You haven't seen that. I don't think you will see that. I want to see Moses versus Fabio Wardley. That would be a good fight, and I think that fight should happen. And, because they're both with Queensberry, right? Atoma should fight Miller and Bakali before he fights Usyk. Usyk will outbox him and use experience. Well, if they're bold enough to make that fight, they're going to do it. If they can find a way for Moses to fight Usyk, they're going to do it. They're going to depend on the same logic that they depended on Dillian Whyte for. They're going to hope that Usyk is not as sharp as he once was, so Moses can have an edge being younger, hungrier, undamaged, right? But most importantly, untested. And they're going to hope on that being the possibility. And guess what? They might have bitten off more than they can chew. And if that happens, oh well. I mean, people learn, I think, what people do. Like Usyk said it best, don't push the horses. Don't push the horses. Don't do it. Great point. Usyk is like B-Hop with the discipline in Klitschko, who was great in his 40s as well. Yeah, those guys, man. And it's a great feeling. Let me ask you guys something. Have you guys ever just been in shape? Just been in shape. In shape, just in shape. I mean, honestly say, dude, I'm in shape. Your life is different. Your decisions are different. Your lifestyle is different. Everything involved in your life is different if you're in shape. If you go to the gym 5 times a week and you get it in, you walk out of that gym feeling good, feeling rejuvenated. You take a shower, you feel good, you sleep better. You wake up, you can get more done, more accomplished. That's what it's like to be in shape. Now, hell, needless to say, I'm not in shape now. I'm in okay shape, but I'm not in shape. I'm not where I could be. Hell no. But I do know what the feeling is. Andy Lee said in interviews that Atoma gave Parker a war in sparring. Of course. Of course he did. Yes, I'm in shape, but I was fatty for a while, and you're right. Yeah. Revelation TV. Salute Kurt. Happy Sunday. Is it disrespectful to Parker if Turkey pushes Usyk versus Moses next? Of course it will be. You know what I mean? Give these fighters respect. And whoever called me a casual, okay. Anybody that doesn't rank or rate Joseph Parker is a casual. Because you can't justify why you can't. This dude is the WBO interim. This guy went from hell and high water when before Zhang was stopped by Aget Caballo, a younger dude, by the way. He was a nightmare. You see what he did to Joe Joyce? And Joe Joyce was the first person that stopped Parker. So Parker got his revenge kind of like a Muhammad Ali-ish type situation. Muhammad Ali was beaten by Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier was destroyed by George Foreman. And Muhammad Ali stopped Foreman in 8. Okay. Joe Joyce stopped Joseph Parker. Okay. Then Joe Joyce was destroyed by Zhang. And then Joseph Parker then beat Zhang. Don't push the horses was super cold. Yeah, it was. And that's all he said. Don't push the horses. What? I don't understand. You need to interpreter. Don't push the horses. Moses was Usyk now. He'll fight Parker first if need be. No, I think Parker. Look, Parker's not an old fighter, but he's not a young fighter either. For Parker, and let me explain this to you guys that don't know. If Parker fights Moses Atoma, it's only because that fight was pushed for no reason. Unreasonably pushed his direction. Why? Because they're trying to give him something to do. They're trying to throw him a curveball. They're trying to throw him an obstacle. Moses Atoma is an obstacle when it comes to Joseph Parker, because they know Joseph Parker is getting screwed. They know Joseph Parker is due what's rightfully due to him. He wants to fight for a title, for Christ's sake. He wants to be undisputed. Why not? I think he would have beat Daniel Dubois' ass. I think it would have been a good fight because I think Dubois would have been able to hit Joseph Parker, and I think Daniel would have fought Joseph, and Joseph would have fought him. It probably would have been one of the fights of the year, but Daniel Dubois did a smart thing by allowing his people to pull him out. And he fought Usyk and got his ass whooped, but he got paid. He fought for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. He fought for all the belts. Versus getting his ass whooped by Parker and losing his belt and then losing the opportunity. And needless to say, who's to say that Usyk will still be the same way he was? He might have not wanted to fight Parker at that point. Why Dubois partying before Usyk? I think that this is what I do believe. I don't think it was Daniel. Daniel don't think for himself like that. This man ain't going to think, yeah, I want a party. Let's have a party. I don't think that was the case. I think Stan put the party on because I think Stan knew that he was going to get paid regardless of what happened. See, the best thing that could possibly happen for Daniel is if he won. But there is no wrong thing at that point. There was nothing that happened. He's still getting paid. He's still getting paid. So he's getting paid, I don't know if it's 70 million, 50 million. That's still a lot of money. And I think his dad knew that, and I think his dad was pre-celebrating before that fight. What the hell did Whyte do? Was that a dive? So, let's do this, guys. We got to start a poll. Boom. All right. So, since that is come up, Triple D stops Moses. Triple D stops Moses. I'll tell you this. I would love to see that fight. But understand, if Frank puts Dubois in there with Moses, he's feeding Moses to Dubois. Or he's feeding Dubois to Moses. I'm sorry. You know that's a setup fight, right? Because he wouldn't put some of his top fighters in there. He wouldn't put his potential next heavyweight champion against a guy that just fought for the undisputed. That's also just 27. He's only 7 years older. Only 7 years, that's a long time. But I mean, he's still in his 20s. So he's still a young fighter. You know what I mean? Caballo should fight Akali for the WBC mandatory position. No, Akali should fight Caballo, not Caballo fighting Akali. Okay, because Caballo has the WBC interim championship belt right now. Lawrence Akali wants that. So he claims. I'd love to see it. I think that should be the next fight because Lawrence Akali is high on the IBF rankings. And I think that since he's probably the only one that called out Caballo, you know, him and Michael Hunter, let's make that fight happen. And I wouldn't, me honestly, I wouldn't want Michael Hunter in there with Caballo. If it gets paid, sure, they're prize fighters, but Caballo is just dangerous. I really don't care for Lawrence Akali. That's why I'm just keeping it real. I mean, I really don't care for Lawrence because his style, I don't like his style. I think he's an okay bloke, but his style of fighting is not appealing to me. But I like his ambition. So I like the way he's calling out Caballo. And I like the way that he wants Caballo because not a lot of people want that fight. They don't want to mess with Caballo. You start talking about Caballo, they'll start talking about some other shit. Hey, would you fight Caballo? Hey, look at the sky. It's gray. Didn't ask you about the damn sky. We asked about you fighting. Parker should fight Atoma for the WBO mandatory position. No, Parker shouldn't fight anybody but Usyk because Usyk has the belt. He's the interim champion. See, we're throwing Joseph Parker. And look, I feel Joseph. Joseph said I'll fight anybody. But if I was Joseph Parker, I would not be too eager to jump my happy ass in there being 33 years of age with any of these hard-swinging young cocks. Hell no. I ain't doing that because I know I fought for the right and I deserve the right to fight for the championship. I'm 33 years old. I'm not 35 or 36, but I'm not 27 or 28 either. So I deserve my opportunity. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. So you guys throwing me these crazy ass fights where I know that I fought to get where I need to be and I'm the mandatory for that particular belt, I think you should give me the opportunity that I deserve. Not give me some bullshit fight that I could possibly lose like a damn banana peel and somebody gets my ass whooped where you were just doing that because you didn't want to give me my rightful opportunity. I don't like that type of shit. That's wrong. They're trying to screw over Joseph Parker and they're trying to throw him in there with somebody that he shouldn't even be fighting because the guy that he's supposed to be fighting don't want to fight him because he wants to take his time and rest. But don't be throwing me no crazy ass fight from somebody that I don't have any business fighting because I fought my way up to this position. You're not going to take my position where I was in the mail room. Now I'm up on the 10th floor, but the top floor is the 15th floor. So I need to go to the 15th floor. And you're trying to tell me I need to be back in the mail room. Hell no. Absolutely not. You give me my opportunity and you give me what I deserve. Give Joseph Parker his opportunity. Now, did I say that he was going to win? No, I didn't. But I think Joseph Parker comes with a different dynamic on his style. I think his style will be interesting to see how it plays out against someone like Alexander Usyk, a guy that is the WBO heavyweight champion of the world amongst all the other heavyweight championships of the world. If not, they just need to strip him so he can fight somebody else for it. That should be the only person or people he should fight. Usyk, or if Usyk drops the belt, who they demand him to fight next or who he ends up fighting, becoming the email WBO champion when he gets elevated to it. So that's all. So whoever he fights then now, if he wants to fight Moses for that, that's a whole different story. Because at that point, he's fighting for the belt or he's trying to defend the belt that he just received because they stripped Usyk, which they should strip Usyk. Okay? I saw Whyte was looking for the fastest way out, thereby not getting seriously hurt. 3 hits to the back of the head in the first round. Whyte is no dummy to let some dirty scumbag MFer beat the back of his head for 10 rounds. Okay. Revelation TV. Kurt, why not arrange for an interview with Efe Ajagba? That would be dope. Efe Ajagba. Yeah, man, I'll reach out to Efe. I reached out to Moses. I don't know. I need these guys publicists. And I'm just not really big on just hitting people up. And you know what I mean? I do enough content, but I would love to bring people on the channel. I've brought some people on the channel. Manny Robles, I checked back with him. People are busy. You know, especially if they're training, especially if they're a trainer or a fighter. You know, Kurt Parker is not the WBO mandatory. He is number one, and Atoma is number two. Parker is not the WBO mandatory. He's not. He don't have that WBO belt that Joyce once had that Zhang took from him, and then he took from Zhang. Usyk is 1,000 times smarter than this one trick pony Atoma. He ain't. He ain't a one trick pony, Kurt. Uh, they watch your channel. They will gladly come for the publicity. I guess. Okay. Why there are so many Atoma haters? I don't know. I mean, I don't see what Moses done for people to hate on him yet. So what's the deal with that? Atoma is 6'2". He had platforms on in Whyte face off. Atoma is 6'2". Okay, I mean, you know, he's not the only one person that did that. Vladimir Klitschko did that too with Tyson Fury. You know, a lot of cats are putting them big, thick ass soles and make them look taller. They jump out of them. It's like wearing high heels for men, right? Who's faster, in your opinion? Usyk or Moses? Moses. I mean, he's younger. I mean, that's an easy thing. So listen, all right, Joseph Parker is currently ranked number 2 by the Ring magazine in the heavyweight division. He is also the WBO interim heavyweight champion. Okay? So if you guys have any doubts, look up the rankings. That's all you got to do. You know what I mean? That's what that is. He's the WBO interim heavyweight champion. Additionally, the Ring's latest rankings show Parker is rising to number 2, while Aget Kabayel moved to number 3, and Daniel Dubois dropped to number 4. Okay? So, just to clear up any misunderstanding, you know, of what's going on with and where Joseph Parker ranks. He's the interim WBO champion, just like Joe Joyce was. Okay, but where did he get it from? Joseph Parker. After he beat Joseph Parker, became the WBO champion, and he lost it to Zhang, and then Zhang lost it to Parker. And Parker hasn't lost since. Okay? It's up to the WBO to decide if Parker is the mandatory or he should fight Atoma for the mandatory position. But the thing is, why should he fight Atoma? Where is Atoma at in the WBO? Where is he at in the WBO? Let's check. Let's check. Moses is currently ranked number 1 by the WBO World Boxing Organization in the heavyweight division. This number 1 ranking is solidified after his recent first-round knockout victory over Dillian Whyte. According to ESPN, Atoma also holds the WBO interim continental heavyweight title. That's too many damn titles, bro. His promoter, Frank Warren, has expressed excitement about Atoma's potential and has rapid rise in the rankings. Atoma versus Fury would be interesting. Tyson Fury ain't fighting Moses Atoma. He's not an idiot. He didn't want to fight Usyk, to really be real with you. He wanted to bullshit Usyk. He didn't want to fight Usyk. And therefore, when he did fight Usyk, He got beat by Usyk. Caballero should be fighting Usyk, nobody else. Well, they're not up yet. The WBO has to make their decision on what they plan to do, and I would hate to think that they are affected by popularity. You know what I mean? Oh, that knockout was impressive. Oh, that stoppage was impressive. Okay, so therefore, let's make these moves. I don't think that that's cool. I don't think that that's cool at all. Even Partridge himself said he won't fight Atoma. What, are you crazy? Yeah, he's not going to do that. He hit back of the head 3 times in the round. It's the 3 murder attempts. Did Whyte take a dive against Moses Atoma? Okay, now this is 54 votes as of right now. 22% says yes, 78% says no. Kurt, how do you see Wilder versus Bakali playing out? Bakali destroys Wilder. If Wilder can't hurt Bakali like Parker did, he's done. He's dead meat. Martin Bakali, I don't give a shit if Martin Bakali's 400 pounds. If Wilder don't have that punch no more, he's going to beat the shit out of Wilder. And I'm going to hate that because he's going to eat Wilder up. He's going to chop him to pieces. Those chopping shots that he's going to throw at Wilder, and don't let him get him in the corner. If he gets Wilder in the corner, he's going to batter him. And I don't want to see that for Wilder. Wilder's 40 years old. You know what I mean? And I don't even know if he's, and I think the last few years, I think probably since 2021 up to now, so the last 4 years, I think Deontay Wilder has had a rough patch. I think he's aged more in these 4 years than he's done for the last 10. Because, before that, he was doing well. Don't get your point. Don't get your point. Caballero deserves his shot, not because of the knockout performance. He deserves it as he has been a pro since 2011 and is undefeated. How has he not had a title shot? Don't get me wrong. Caballero hasn't been managed properly. He hasn't been managed properly at all. You know what I mean? That's a question you need to ask the people that handle Caballero. I'm just talking about the rankings right now. Morally, you are right. Yeah, Caballero should have deserved that much before someone like AJ. If AJ gets beat twice and then AJ's all of a sudden right back into position to go for the fight for the title, he just got beat by who? Danny Dubois. See, if he would have beat Danny Dubois, he would have been a 3-time world champion. Then he would have fought for undisputed because there would be no Dubois versus Usyk. It would have only been Joshua versus Usyk. Again, we would have had to see that shit again. Okay, so we would have been looking at a totally different landscape, and Joshua would have still been on top when he lost back-to-back. Because, of course, it's the rematch clauses because he was the A-side and all, but still, that A-side shit gets old. It really does, man. When you got guys that are shown and proven to be killers, and they're taking people out. They're taking people's head off. They're breaking people to the body. Caballero is doing his thing. Caballero's a favorite fighter's favorite fighter. Zhang needs to fight Atoma. Wilder versus Guido. That'll be a good fight for Wilder. Because Guido's pretty game. You know what he did to Madrimov, right? Or Markmadov. There you go. Arslanbek Markmadov, not Madrimov. Markmadov. And he beat him to a pulp. So, yeah. Since Dave Allen called out Wilder just to duck him, let Wilder fight Whyte next. Good fight. Yeah, I did think that was weird. I don't know. But I think Wilder turned it down. See, Wilder's only looking for certain fights. And I think that's the problem with a lot of these fighters. They're only looking for certain alleyways, certain opportunities. They're not trying to make shit happen because they don't feel that they are that desperate to make a fight happen. If it comes, it comes. If it comes available, only because they deserve it, because they've done already enough for it, and justified in their mind, right? Zane could be 50. He's still best Moses. Be 50. He's still best Moses has fought. Hey, why not? I mean, Zane, I think he can take a shot. I think when you start working to that body, that's a whole different issue. Then he's a southpaw, right? So that could be a very interesting fight. And I think we will finally get to see if Moses can take a shot, because I think with the counterpunching ability that Zhang possesses, he'll be able to catch Moses at some point. And if he can catch him with something flush and those legs go, now I wouldn't throw him to the wolves just yet, just because he gets caught with Zhang. Remember something, Zhang can bang. There's a reason why he's called Big Bang Zhang. He dropped Caballo. How about Caballo versus Moses? Usyk's next for Moses is silly. He'll get dropped like Dubois. Wilder needs to fight 3 fights a month. If he wasn't to get his form back, he doesn't. Yeah, Wilder, he should be fighting again. Now, I think that he wanted to go 3 fights this year. I don't know how realistic that is, but Wilder, he has been silent. I haven't heard nothing from Wilder. The last I've heard from his team that they're talking about fighting Jake Paul. Wilder's looking for money. Wilder's looking for a payday. Wilder's not looking to get in there with guys like Zhang and Parker. He's not looking for that. He's looking for a cash grab. That's what he's looking for. He's looking for a cash grab. They said Wilder was going to fight in September. I hope so. What is he going to fight? Iowa? Do you think Jai Bataya could step up to heavyweight like Usyk did? Yeah, I think he can. I mean, if you look at Jai Bataya and you look at Joseph Palka, they're not that small. Like Jai Bataya is not a small dude. He's not as big as those other guys, but he's about Usyk's size. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's a pretty good guy. I don't know what he walks around at, but he's a pretty big bloke. Moses isn't Dubois. He's 10 times as smart as Dubois, for one thing. Squilla 50 in the building. What's up, brother? Counterpunch to you. Atoma versus Richard Torres. What you think, Kurt? I think it's a good fight. Richard Torres, Terramona, Jared Anderson, Aget Kabayel, Bakary Jololov. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of those young dudes that Moses can be matched up against. It's a lot of them. Jai not as good as Usyk. I think Jai's meaner. You know what I mean? And Jai might hit a little harder than Usyk. But I don't know if he's better. I don't think he's better. But I mean, he does have good boxing ability, good speed, good foot movement. And I think anybody with good foot movement will do well against someone like Moses, because that's Moses's attributes. His foot movement, upper body movement, speed. You know what I mean? You have to have that to combat that. You know what I mean? Besides timing, of course. But, if you have those attributes also, you're doing pretty good. Daniel is still awesome. Usyk is just greater. Okay, I like that. Dubois still off the grid, back shooting Brazilian brass with his old man. Let's check. 71 likes. Okay, poll check. Okay, did Dillian Whyte take a dive? 22% still says yes. 78% still says no. Okay. So, Dillian Whyte, though, I would like to see him back in the ring. I would like to see him, if you don't, it's fine. But I would like to see him go out on a win. I think we owe him that much. I think, nobody else wanted to fight Moses. Hell. So, don't give him a break. Give Dillian Whyte a break. He did something that a lot of people didn't want to do. Derek Chisora didn't want it. Tyson Fury didn't want it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people didn't want that fight. So there you go. So yeah, man. Great night of boxing. Moses Atoma's on the rise. Dillian Whyte, you know, I feel for him. I feel bad for him. You know, but either way, I would like to see what they do in their careers moving forward. Moses, he's just down to fight anyone because he's 20 years old. You know, he doesn't have a preference. I just think he just wants to show how good he is. So it is what it is with that. I thank you guys for showing up for my reflection video. It's been good. It's been solid. It's been real. Stay tuned for the next live stream, which will probably be Tuesday. But nonetheless, I got a lot of videos to come out. I got to eat too. So I'm going to get my eat on. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Peace and blessings. God bless. And everyone has been counterpunched. Peace.